All right. Hello, everybody. Let me just make my screen full. There we go. Welcome. Grant Ifflander here. I'm going to talk to you guys today about how to choose the right yoga teacher training program. So this is a question that came up for me years ago when I was first investigating and searching for the right yoga teacher training program. I remember it was 2015. I was working a job that I knew wasn't like the final. I didn't want to be working a job, basically. And I had the inspiration that it was time to do a yoga teacher training program. So I wanted to find out which one to do. And I remember I was at work and I was like researching all the different programs and retreats that there were. And I decided that I wanted to do an immersion. I didn't want to do a non-residential program, one that like basically I knew that I wanted to go and I wanted to be in a container for a prolonged period of time to really immerse myself in the practices and the teachings of yoga so that I didn't have my home base to go back to. I didn't have my, I could, because there's a difference when it's non-residential where you're going to a place and you're doing the thing and you're going back home and you can repeat all of your patterns and behaviors at home. And in order for it to be like a really effective transformational experience for me, I knew that it would be better for me to leave home, to stay in a particular place, to do the training, and then return home. I had a feeling that that was the best option for me. So it's April, May 2015, and I finally locate a place. It's in Costa Rica. I resonate with the teacher. I resonate with the bio of the teacher. I remember I like researched maybe like 50 different programs, and I scanned through the content that was being delivered, and I found the location, the teacher, and the content were all like resonant to what I felt like was where I was in my journey. And I felt like this particular training that I chose was, I just felt like it was the right one. I felt like it was the right one. There are a couple of reasons for that. But ultimately trusting our own inner guidance system, I think, is the key here, and like what I want to share with you guys. And really the whole point of this webinar is to not tell my own personal story of how I got to my first teacher training, which was, like I said, 7 years ago, but also to give hopefully some insight and information for you if you are considering a training about how to make your decision process easier, more effective, more fulfilling. This is potentially a really big life decision to sign up and to pursue the certification of becoming a yoga teacher. It's not like a small thing to do. So what I want to share with you guys is, like I said some of my story about how I came to my first YTT, but I want to go through my list here of just some of the things that may help you in your decision. So how will you decide between an immersion and destination experience, as in like what I was just describing, going somewhere and staying there for the whole training, or a non-residential experience? So you might be in a city, or you might be close by a studio, a yoga studio that is offering teacher training programs. The thing is, for you, as you know, if you're deciding this, consider what I just shared. Consider what I just shared. Your ultimately your motive for the program for doing a YTT, yoga teacher training, is needs to be clear enough so that your decision around if it's non-residential or if it's residential will make sense. So if you're just wanting to get some information about yoga and you feel like, yeah, I just kind of want to learn some things and keep doing life the way that it is and have my job and have my relationships and all my stuff, then maybe, this is a big maybe, not uprooting your life and transporting yourself and then putting it down for 3 weeks. Most YTTs, 200-hour YTTs are 3 weeks long, could be 4 weeks, depending on the program. If that doesn't sound appealing to you, then the non-residential option is going to be better because you don't have to deal with that whole travel, uprooting, taking time off of work, all this other stuff. Now, the benefit of doing the uprooting and doing the 3-week or the 4-week program is, one, it's shorter in duration. So it's just shorter, it's more manageable with time. The second benefit that I feel the shorter program is it's more intense. It's more intense. So there's a tendency when we go through a transformational process to try to minimize the intensity. We try to negotiate with the dictates of spirit. You know, do you know what I mean when I say the dictates of spirit? Like the instructions that we get from some divine place that say, like, it's time to start waking up early and exercising. You know, where does that inspiration come from? And I'm not saying like this isn't coming from like a shameful or guilty place. It's like coming from like a true inspiration, like, hey, like, this is good to listen to this, whatever this source is that's guiding us. And to listen to that guidance is hard, right? It's hard to do that. It's hard to actually implement the changes that are coming through the inspired other place. It's hard to implement them. So the container, the environment in which we put ourselves in order for transformation to occur, in order for learning and growth, because learning is a type of transformation. Like, we are adapting a new way of looking at life if we're learning effectively. That is a process. It's a process. And if we're actually looking to create a new way forward in our life, as in creating new habits, new personal structures, new realities, because new reality is a result of these changes of habits and the changes of the neurological structure of the human being, it'll change our whole reality. Then a immersion is a possibly more effective route. Now, if you're like one of those crazy disciplined people that can hold the container for themselves and they can live their life and they can make all the changes they need to do and be in a non-residential retreat program, then that's great. Like, do that because it's less disruptive. And I did both, actually. To go back to my story, I did my first immersion, a 3-week training in the jungle in Costa Rica at a place called the Sanctuary. I came back to Arizona, where I was living at the time. This is now August 2015. And then I went and I enrolled in another 200-hour teacher training program that started in September. So I did 2 back to back. And that one was from September to December. It was like every weekend for 16 weekends or something like that. So having done both, and then after that, I went and I assisted on I taught anatomy and physiology to yoga teacher trainees, which was a week-long module that I created and presented to cover for the module of anatomy and physiology for YTTs. I did 4 of those. So I assisted on 4 more. At this point, I've done 6. I've done 2 on my own, an immersion, and then a non-residential. And then I did 4 assisting, teaching anatomy and physiology at immersions. So I was there for a week and I lived with the yogis who were training, and I did that for 4 times. And then I went to England, where I assisted and participated, participate with my hatha yoga teacher, Steve Harrison of the Yoga Sanctuary, who's an incredible master of this tradition, who I just give all my respect to. He was doing a regular teacher training and an advanced teacher training, which I was there for both of those. So that makes 8 for me. Those were non-residential as well. Those were done over the course of weekends, and they were immersions, like all day Saturday type of thing. I'm telling my story again. Sorry, guys. Let me get back to the point. How you choose whether it's non-residential or immersion is going to depend on your reason for doing it. Okay. To summarize that, if your reason is to really, really change something, like deeply in yourself, then sometimes removing yourself from the environment in which the change is reflected constantly is a effective tool. That's what I'll say. How do you decide what the right style, brand, lineage, or method may be? This is such a good question. How do you decide what's right? So there's so many different styles and brands of yoga. Like there's new ones coming out all the time, new modalities for breath work all the time coming out. And what I will say, and this is just what I've discovered in myself, is that if we trace yoga back to its roots, so we're talking about traditional yoga, how the tradition has presented it, there are several what we will call source texts. So scriptures, which are the authority, they are where the teachings emerge from, and all of the styles, methods, and lineages of yoga today are traced back to the root. When we look at the roots, we see that there are some very basic fundamental principles and guidelines that are universal. These are principles of yoga. That is what we should be looking at and what should be present in our programs. So when we're looking at a lineage or a style or a method, are we able to discern if it has some root to it? Is there a foundation to it that goes beyond what may be made up? Because humans love making things up. We love creating styles, modalities, names, labels, categorizing things. However, that what is made up has to stand on something. And so if it can stand on something, then we're going to be able to squeeze some juice and longevity from it. And so this is my opinion, and this is what I feel is when I'm looking for teachings, which is not so much anymore, because I feel like I've found my path with yoga. But if I'm looking for wisdom in other traditions, for me personally, what I look for is like longevity, and I look for lineage. So I look for people who have great teachers themselves, who are they know their teachers and they know their teachers' teachers, and they sort of have this, because there's an unbroken transmission that is occurring that we want to honor and respect when it comes to wisdom. It's like if you inherit the family recipe, you don't just go reinvent mom's spaghetti, her amazing spaghetti. My mom made the best spaghetti. She had the most incredible sauce that was like passed down over generations, and was refined and tinkered. And that was like, so all the perfect ratios of everything. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to lineage or style or method, there is a foundation to it that goes all the way back that we can be we can tap into and bring it into our own awareness, and then we can practice in that same way, in the way that is in alignment with the tradition. Or it can become a pseudo spiritual quest to try to figure it out, and ultimately over time we end up going back to the same place anyways. So what I really want to summarize that with is how to decide what the right style / brand / lineage method may be for you. Is it goes back to our first question: what is your reason for doing it? Are you seeking true transformation, authentic practices, or are you seeking something that is just appealing, or something that like is kind of shiny and attractive? There's a difference, and it's subtle. There's a subtle difference between what is authentic and real and legitimate and what appears to be attractive. And this is the problem today, is that there's so many gurus out there, and many of them are self-proclaimed. My thought is that finding a practitioner who adheres to the practices is going to be a more effective leader of passing on or teaching these styles, brands, methods, lineages. So it doesn't so much matter what style, brand, lineage, method you resonate with, but it does matter that you find someone who's really passing that on in a good way. So hopefully that answers the question. Find yourself someone who's carrying the lineage and the tradition in a good way that you resonate with and you can receive from, and then practice. How to choose a location and a teacher. I think I just answered that a little bit. Finding the person or people that you resonate with that, oh, this is something that I'd love to illuminate. And it's like, you don't want to find someone who just cheerleads you and strengthens and reinforces what you already know. You want to find someone who can challenge you and can bring you past your growth edge, your comfort zone. And so a good teacher is going to be able to support you by creating a container in which you can expand. And that teacher, if it's a great teacher, I believe this is what my teacher did for me, is that container was constantly a little bit bigger for me. So there was always room for me to expand. I was never quite comfortable in the best way, because everywhere else I go in my life, I can be comfortable, but I can't be comfortable with my teacher. And that is what I feel like that teacher has done for me, has given me a love that I wouldn't have otherwise known. And it's learning how to love myself completely, unconditionally. And so if we're always given a nurturing pat on the back, you're doing a great job type of love, and we always get the trophy, then do we actually grow? Do we actually confront our demons and see our blind spots? This is a good question. Is now the right time for you? I don't know. It might be. Is this calling you? Are you watching this video and you're like, man, I really want to train. I want to embrace the challenge of my own inner battle, and I want to learn how to use these practices to work through it. If that's a yes for you, then I think that now is the right time. If you reach inside yourself and you're like, I don't really want to confront those parts of me yet, I want to kind of keep them hidden, I'm not ready to let go of those things, then maybe now's not the right time. or if it is, and you do decide to go with it, but that energy is present, as in like, I'm not really ready to let these things go, then understand that that part of you that is you're not ready to let go is going to be in your experience as your work. Everywhere we go, everything we do, we carry our stuff with us. Nothing is hidden. And so when we engage in a transformational process, which I keep saying this transformational process because a yoga teacher training program should be that. It should transform someone from being a yoga student into a yoga teacher. And if it doesn't, then it's not an effective program, I believe, because that's what it's calling itself to be, a YTT, yoga teacher training. It's transformational, which means that we need to transform. We need to change form. Trans means change, form. We need to change our structure. We need to let go of things. So if that feels like a yes to you and you're ready, then now may be the right time. Pros and cons of getting certified. Is it even necessary? I don't think it's necessary to get certified, to be honest. I have already trained more than one yoga teacher in my life. And that is to say that I have experienced people who were students of mine who continued to practice with me over a period of time and continued to learn and study and grow themselves. I have then sat in the space of a student with them as the teacher, and I have received from their wisdom. And they never got certified. They never went through a training program and got a piece of paper saying, you are a certified yoga teacher. What they did do is they practiced, they applied, and they allowed what was within them to be brought forth. And then I was able to sit back and receive insight and intuition and inspiration from them. So then I was being taught. That's pretty cool. Not saying that that's everybody. Some people do need the piece of paper, and some organizations require a piece of paper because Yoga Alliance is like the universal standardizing body, biggest Western, I think it's the biggest nonprofit yoga community or yoga association in the world. So they're like the largest standardizing body of accreditation programs for yoga teaching. Many organizations require that certification because it helps with insurance. And then two, it kind of shows that the person was committed enough to the process to go through it. But knowing that you can do it in 3 weeks, yeah. I mean, I'm going to try to do this thing in 3 weeks because I have a teacher training coming up myself, as some of you may know. And I'm like, man, 3 weeks is not enough time. It's not enough time. So what I'm intending to do in this 3 weeks, more so than give people a certification, is give them the tools that they need to become amazing practitioners, to give them the foundation of knowledge that they need to understand what are the actual mechanics of yoga, not just physically and stretching and all this stuff, but what are like the core philosophies that we need to understand to move this thing along in our life, to build that foundation so that they can then go and they can continue to practice and integrate what are centuries old teachings that may take lifetimes to understand. So my goal with a 3-week program, more than just giving someone a certification, is just give them the empowerment to be an amazing practitioner. Because going back to this original topic, is a certification necessary? Not really. What is necessary is commitment, consistency, devotion, and sincerity. What do you do once you're certified? What do you want to do? Do you have ambitions to teach? Where do you want to teach? Do you want to teach in studios? Do you want to teach in health clubs? Do you want to teach at the gym? Do you want to teach at schools? I would advise anybody who's considering becoming a certified yoga teacher to think about what they want to apply themselves. Like, because teaching yoga is service to the community. It is seva. It is a form of selfless service to life. And I believe that your role in your community, once you become a certified yoga teacher, is not to go and teach in studios, but to be a yoga teacher everywhere you are. Meaning you're sharing from your being. You're not talking about it constantly, but you're sharing from your being and from your vibration the teachings of the sages, the teachings of peace, of love, of unity, of harmony. That's how I think we can apply this stuff. And of course, if you go to teach in a studio or a club or a gym or whatever, that's also awesome because you're going to, right? If you do this the right way, if you really transform yourself, then the people who come to your classes are going to be like, whoa, what did this person do? And then they're going to be inspired and they're going to want to dig a little deeper in their own spiritual path. And that's cool. You become a beacon of light everywhere you go. That's cool. How do you turn your passion into a career? So teaching yoga full time in studios barely pays the bills. And when I say full time, I'm talking like 15 classes a week. That's a lot of studio time. So thinking more creatively, how do you turn something like this into a career? Yoga teaching should not be confined to the box of instructing poses in a classroom. It should not be. We're talking about one of the most transformational sciences known to humanity, the science of yoga, the technology of using mind, body, and breath in a unified manner to create a neurophysiological change in the brain, change to the chemistry of the blood in the body, change to the heart rate and the coherence between the heart and the brain, tuning the nervous system. We're talking about creating advanced, refined pieces of human technology through these methods known as yoga. This can be applied anywhere. And if you learn how to market yourself in a way as the expert on this, you will be a very valuable member of whatever community you're a part of. And so that career, man, you are in the flow. You are serving and you're doing what you love. It's no longer just a hobby. You're not just teaching in studios. You become a sought after leader, contributor, valuable member of your network. And if you keep practicing and you stay in alignment with the goals and the truths expounded through the yoga tradition, then your ultimate goal is freedom. Your ultimate goal is liberation from these human constructs, which say we need to work a certain way, we need to do a certain thing to be this. And the yogis would say that's not true. Well, maybe they would say something like, yeah, those are good goals, but there's an even higher goal to achieve, and that's freedom. To be completely free of the human construct, the human conditions, societal conditions, karmic conditions, to be free of all of that so you can live and be a harmonious human being amongst and inside of an environment of harmony and goodness and peace and health and happiness. And then of course the question, well, what am I going to do to work? It's like, you won't even have that question anymore. You'll just be in service, answering the call, doing what you're supposed to be doing. It might look like you're still a janitor, it might look like you're still a school teacher, but you're no longer questioning if that's the right thing because you are completely in alignment with life, doing your purpose, your sacred duty called Dharma, living as a yogi. That's a cool aspiration, I think. And that's what I'm going for. And that's what I intend to share with you. I hope that you got something from this. This is the completion of what I wanted to talk about today about how to choose a YTT. Know that I have one coming up in January. I think many of you know that, but if you don't, then take a look at the link that I'll post in the descriptions to find out more information. We're going to cover traditional hatha yoga, classical tantra, non-dual tantric teachings. Bhakti yoga is going to be a big part of it. So we'll be singing and chanting and discussing mantra and the science of mantra and sound and vibration and ritual, the archetypal psychology, like what is human spiritual transformation? What are the mechanics of it? And of course, how to be a leader, how to open our heart and to lead authentically, so that people can get good results with what we are trying to achieve in terms of our leadership, in terms of our community missions, in terms of our personal mission. We want people to receive from our mission, right? Our mission shouldn't be selfish. It should be something that serves and helps others. This is my belief. Maybe you agree with me. And if you do, then know that I have a training coming up that will help you with this result. And of course, learning how to be a certified yoga teacher is very much a part of the training. So happening in Costa Rica. And that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing you in person or at some other experience somewhere in the world. But wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay super blessed. Keep your heart open and align with your mission so that the people around you can feel your inspiration, that you can serve them with your inspiration, and that you can be a alive, happy, healthy, and clear human being. The world needs you. Thank you, guys.